Hi, and welcome to Meeples on Meeples, episode 101. I'm Brian, and before we get started on our game of the week here, which is Keyflower, I'd like to just remind you to please go ahead and subscribe to us on YouTube so that you can see all of our videos, and feel free to like, comment, etc. Also, please follow us on Facebook. We do post different content there. You'll get more close-ups of the components and things like that, and some great pictures and photos, and see what we're playing on a weekly basis. And of course, Twitter, etc. Since I'm not doing a rules overview, I'm just going to point out what the components are in the game. You have a bag full of Meeples, and the colors in there are yellow, red, and blue, and you can get those at random throughout the game. The gold-ish, yellow-colored wooden bits are gold, and they're wild. They can be used as any resource, the way you spend them in the game. The gray is stone. There's black, and that's coal. Brown is wood, and these are the resources you can get from the tiles. You're going to start with one home tile, and you're going to be buying other tiles each round. It plays basically in seasons: spring, summer, fall, and then it ends in winter. It plays like 1 year. But you're going to be adding to this town around it, so you're going to start with one of those, and then depending on the number of players, there will be various tiles that produce wood or produce coal or let you move things around your village, etc. Everybody's going to have a blind, which is different. The artwork on the outside and inside for every player, which is kind of cool. And that's where you're going to hide your workers and things so other people can't see them necessarily. There are green Meeples that are very special and powerful that you get depending on how you play on certain tiles, allow you to get these. And they work like other workers. They're just a lot harder to get and a little more powerful because of it. And then there are saws, anvils, and pickaxes that you can also get and use to upgrade and build your buildings within the town. First up is likes and dislikes. Keyflower is a medium to heavy Euro game, and that's kind of in my wheelhouse. I love this type of game, so I really enjoy a good solid worker placement game, and I think that this game is just has done so many things that are unique. It is a very crowded genre. There are lots of worker placement games. So one like is the fact that they found a new way to do it. The idea of bidding on something, like if I bid on something with yellow, yellow is the only thing that can be played to the woodcutter here. So if somebody else wants to outbid me, they have to put 2 yellow to outbid me. They can't use another color, whatever. So if I know people don't have certain colors, I can kind of block people out, and that adds a whole new depth of strategy. It also means that the woodcutter is locked for this round to yellow as far as people wanting to place on there to produce. As you can see, it produces 2 wood. So people may not be able to use it. At the same time, if I use all my yellow here, I may not be able to use yellow somewhere else if somebody decides to bid yellow to buy the mine or to use the mine, etc. So that the color of worker locks a space down for a round is really interesting, really unique. And I like that a lot. I love the components. I can't not mention the components. The little houses to hide your pieces behind, awesome. The fact that they're all actually different artwork, even cooler. The wooden bits for the resources, you got your wood, your coal, your stone, your gold, very nice. The Meeples are all typical Meeples, but they're nice, they're painted well. The cardboard is a nice thick quality. There are lots of different tiles, etc. It comes with a cloth bag, so you can draw your Meeples out blindly and not have to provide your own. So that's another nice touch. The components are very, very nice overall. Now, one dislike to go along with the components is the artwork, okay? Well, I said the artwork is nice, and the tiles do have nice artwork. They've covered up the majority of that artwork with the iconography telling you what the tile does. Okay, so I like that. That's a like that is very easy to read this. I know that, for instance, if I go to the key mine, I can produce 1 coal. I can just look at this side. I don't have to flip it over. I can know that once this is upgraded, it will produce 3 coal on the other side. Sure enough, there it is, 3 coal on the other side when it gets upgraded. So that is a like and a dislike. It's very easy to read. It's very simple to tell what everything does, even from across the table, because it's so big. But because it's so big, those boxes really block out the artwork behind it and kind of take away from the look of things, especially since I love like town and city building games, and you are kind of building your city out. It's not the prettiest city. It's just a bunch of a mismatch of different symbols, iconography, etc. Other likes, though, very replayable. I like the fact it's a longer game, but I like that. It plays up to 6 people, which is fantastic. I've played it with 3, it plays very well. 4, I have not played it with the full 6, but just the fact that it can play up to 6, I think is very nice. Not many games do that, and we do occasionally have a bigger group of people. Other than that, though, the one last thing I will say about this is just know that it is a little more difficult of a game, so it's probably not as family friendly as other worker placement or Euro games. It's a little bit on the heavier side. But for likes and dislikes, my likes far outweigh the dislikes of this game. So next up would be strategies. Some of the strategies are probably common sense. One is try to pay attention to what color Meeples people have, so that you can kind of lock something in. As I mentioned in the last section, you can bid on something with yellow, and now that's locked to yellow if you know other people don't have that. So controlling the different colors of Meeples is very important. Don't forget that golds can be wild. They can be used as any resource. Sometimes I think people kind of forget that and like, oh yeah, shoot, I can do this. So gold is super valuable as a resource. You definitely want things that produce gold. That's another strategy, is just you can build up on the gold. Do not underestimate the value of the pickaxes and the anvils and the saws. There was one game where I just didn't have any way to get some, and people kept using things up or blocking me from getting those, and I was unable to upgrade a lot of my places. When you upgrade, you get more points, so that helps your score, plus it helps you produce more things, etc. So as you can see, like this one you need a saw to upgrade, this one you need an anvil to upgrade, an anvil to upgrade. Sometimes you do need, this one needs wood and coal resources, but if you don't have these, it's very difficult. And being as you get these blindly, they're all flipped over on the back, you don't know what, you can't specifically pick the saw, for instance. These are really important as far as try to get them and know when to use them and use them properly. Another resource, of course, is the green Meeples. There are a few tiles that get you the green Meeples. They work as regular workers, except for the fact that you can only get them when you use a tile that like produces them like a resource or whatever. So not many people will have green Meeples. In fact, you might get one, and you might be the only one with green. So you can just go boom on something, and then that's it. It's blocked out. You can't use it. Nobody else can, because there's no other greens in the game early on. So for instance, we played with a friend named Sam one time. He was really able to block people out because he got some greens, and he was able to play them strategically and keep us from using certain tiles at certain times. So green is probably, arguably, one of the most powerful of the resources in the game. Probably also the hardest to get, but they're very powerful. And then, of course, kind of pay attention to what you're putting, where you're placing your tiles as you place them. You have to make sure the roads connect and the fields connect. You have to place them correctly. But then that also is going to kind of determine how you can use your horse and carriage to move things around your village. Because you have to move resources to certain places so that they can be upgraded. Or certain tiles score blank number of points for every like wood on it or whatever. So you want to make sure you like load up and get a lot of wood over there before the end of the game, etc. So there's a lot going on, and it's one of those games where you never quite feel like you got to do everything you wanted to do, but you always feel like you did accomplish something on your turn. So there's that. But yeah, there's quite a bit of strategy, and it's just one of those games you have to play multiple times to get the feel for. Alright, so this brings us to the final section, my review, my score. I'm just going to say right up front that this game is a 9. Okay, I love worker placement games, I love Euro games, and the fact that this one takes some familiar ideas and does them so well, that's not easy to do in a crowded genre. The fact that it actually puts a new spin on how you use your workers, fantastic. That is amazing. I love how you use the different colors, and it's not just I'm the yellow player, you're the blue player. No, everybody has the different colors, and you're using them strategically to buy and produce, etc. It just does so many things that I like, and it's unique. And it feels fresh and interesting, and every game presents new challenges and tough decisions to make, and even though I play it multiple times, I can still feel like this game was different than the last, or oh, I should have done this. Now, I'm not saying you don't get better, you do start to remember like what tiles might be coming up, things like that, but it still feels fresh and unique every time, and I love it. It's in one of my favorite genres, and it's not just one of my favorite worker placement games, it's quickly becoming one of my favorite games, period. A fantastic game. The only things holding it back, like I said, the artwork is kind of covered up, but I get why they did it. You can read the iconography a lot easier. A few of the components were a little miscut, a couple of the Meeples, minor things, just like 1 or 2 in the game. But otherwise, it plays well. It doesn't ever feel too long or too short. I never feel like on my turn I couldn't do anything at all. I mean, I'd get to do the prime choices I wanted to do. Somebody might have blocked me out, but I still find a way to do something interesting or helpful. And it's just one of those games that it ends and I'm like, oh, I wish if there was just one more round, just a little bit longer, I could have done this, or oh, I would have won if I had done blank. And it's one of those games where I'm still thinking about it after I played. I'm still talking about it after the game's ended. So there you have it, Keyflower. Fantastic game. I highly recommend it. A 9 out of 10.